Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of High Heels to Happy Feels with Immersive Spirit. I'm Stephanie,
And I'm Natalie.
and this week we're going to talk a little bit about spirituality and your relationships. So, what really prompted this conversation for Nat and I is as we're in the holiday season, right? We're coming up into Thanksgiving next week. We have Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and everything around the corner in December. And it can bring up tensions in families. It can bring up some heated conversations when we're talking about religion or spirituality with people that are closest to us. So, the two things we always say we don't talk about at work, spirituality, religion, and politics, those are things we do talk about in our home lives. And with spirituality, it can be a difficult conversation. And especially as we're opening up and finding different ways of seeing spirit, we know with our religious and the organized religion aspect and old religions that there's a lot of tradition around that. And which is awesome and it's amazing and it's fun to be a part of, but it's not necessarily for everyone. And so, we think about people that don't celebrate Christmas, uh, or they don't celebrate Hanukkah or they don't celebrate Kwanzaa. Well, what if we celebrate Yule and one of those Sabbats and we look at it that way? What if you're maybe not into any of the celebrations at all? You just have a higher power and you just want to spend time with spirit. So, we're going to talk a little bit about that and having those conversations and keeping it real and making sure that you are in a place where you're comfortable talking about those relationships, right? Because the one place you should be able to do about to be you is at home. What?
Yeah, in your intimate relationships, for sure.
Yeah. What did I miss? Anything in there?
No, I don't think so because you're really just highlighting the importance of it. And when I was doing like the therapy training, and I know I mentioned this just before we started, spirituality or religion is something that is ranks right up there in intimate partnerships with sex, money, and how to raise kids. So it's a big topic and it should be discussed as such.
Agreed. And that's one of the things you and I were talking about beforehand too is, ideally you've had those conversations before you get into your relationship, right? So that
Mhm.
there aren't any shocks. There's no, you find out that somebody is an atheist when you are a devout Christian. And that would be a very tough conversation, right? So those are the things that you want to find out prior to relationships. But what we were getting, where you and I were chatting before, what happens when you just get older and you change and you evolve in some capacity in a different direction, right? Um, yeah. And I think we had
Yeah.
some really good talking points around this.
We do. But I think like the main point of all of it is when you find the people and you bring them intimately into your life. I mean, that can be best friends, that can be lovers, that can be what have you. Understanding how they see themselves in the world and how they want to grow and what they want to do, um, they're very specific about giving back to their community or things that are spiritual to them that make them feel part of something that's bigger than them. Where
Right.
do they fit in that? It doesn't necessarily have to have a name or, the divinations or the different religions that are available. It's really about the person and where they see themselves being. So, yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. I think, if we can, let's just jump right into some of the talking points. Let me move that a little. Um, I think the first thing, and you mentioned it a little bit here, but without saying it, is respecting each other's path, right? Avoiding that judgment. So one of the things that we as humans do, and it's not wrong, um, but it's difficult to learn. There is no right or wrong path. Everyone has their own path. And it's respect. It's mutual respect. It's a mutual appreciation. And it's like with everything in life, right? You be kind about it and you say, "Oh, that's really interesting. Tell me more." And appreciate it and just acknowledge that. And if we're really being honest, help them celebrate because you would want them to celebrate, if I make a Yule log during Yule, but at the same time, I'm still honoring Christmas. I love Christmas. It's one of my favorite times of the year. You get to
Mhm.
be with your family. We have a Christmas tree. We do presents. We do all of those things. I love it. It's beautiful. And if when my mom was visiting, if she decides, hey, I'd like to go to church, then off to church we'll go. We'll go. You bet. It's sharing in that love and being with that person in the place that they're most comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. And even outside of the seasons, because yes, we're definitely moving into a big one with Yule and Christmas and all that comes with that. Is like, say that part of your spirituality and your spiritual journey for you to connect to your higher self or to your source is meditating. And maybe that is not at all for your partner, and they're more of um, a hands-on, maybe nature walking is what is their big thing. And
Right.
maybe you don't like doing nature walking and they don't like doing meditating, but respecting and appreciating that that is their growth and that is their time. And you still, that person's path, you are still going to honor and support.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because not everybody wants to go out for a walk in the snow, whereas some people think that is just the cat's pajamas, right? And let's go.
Yeah, I'm not going snowshoeing. No.
Right. And at the same time, it's like if they
Not.
have this spot that is magical to them that they really want to share with you, and it happens to require putting on some snowshoes and a very small trek, then you say, okay, I love you.
Maybe once, but then that might be
And I'll
there a
check
long
it
time with
out.
their
And
spirituality.
right. I appreciate you sharing it with me. And now I know where you find your joy and yay, yay for you. That's awesome. Mine happens to be in front of the fireplace.
Right?
Hanging
With my
out.
legs crossed, sitting there in an om position and just
Exactly.
sitting quietly.
Right. And just chilling out, having a conversation with spirit. And I'd love for you. And it's sharing in that, right? So
Right.
it's sharing in those two different traditions and respecting it.
Yeah,
Um,
like not walking through and saying, "Hey, do you want soup for dinner? Are you hungry? Are we going to go to town?" Are
right.
right,
Right. Or what are you doing? Why are you just sitting around? Why are
right,
when they
respecting that space at that
why,
time.
why are you just sitting there? It's great. I know my partner once in a while he'll be like, "Are we in meditation?" We are. Oh, okay. And gone, right? Because it's all of a sudden I'm sitting with my eyes closed. It's like, are you napping or are we
Do you need help? Or are you
right?
helping yourself? Right.
Right? Or yeah, it's a little self-help right now. And but it is. It's absolutely it's honoring and learning from each other. And
Right.
I think I know the more we learn, the better we are as human beings. I can't believe how much even my own mind has opened in the last few years since our business has evolved with um, my deep appreciation of what others go through. Not just an empathy level and that type of thing, but just really understanding and saying, huh, I've never even heard of that. Fascinating. Tell me more. May not be my cup of tea, but I absolutely respect the people I'm talking to about it.
Well, and you respect that they want to share that with you.
Yeah.
That's the special thing that connects us all is that they're sharing this very intimate thing for them with me, and I need to feel the honor in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh, that's so well said. And I think people forget like when they go to yoga or whatever, and at the end when you're saying namaste, what that means, right? It's the spirit in me honors the spirit and sees and honors the spirit in you or the
Mhm.
God in you, right? And so it's truly taking a moment to acknowledge I see you. I see
Right.
you. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And
Yeah.
and I think out of honoring and respecting the space for individual practice, there's also, I think it's really important to like find the common ground. Like, I mentioned maybe for the pair, they both are very much gratitude or giving to others.
Uh-huh.
So maybe in that spirituality, they can go volunteer together or, find something that sources that common value
Yeah.
that allows them to bring it together.
And that's absolutely it's a brilliant idea. And especially at the holidays, right? What
Right.
can you do that shares a common value? Well, one of the key themes of Christmas is giving. And
Hmm.
why not do something where I mean, giving is giving, right? So if it's their church and there's an event and they want you to go help with it, go for it. But maybe there's a particular shelter you want to help out with. Ask them to return the favor and come with you to be involved with meal serving, meal prep, whatever that might be, helping the homeless. So, and there's so many different ways that we can all volunteer, right? I mean, pets are my
Right.
jam and the Humane Society and so on. But yeah, yeah, I agree. It's finding something that you share in common because we all ultimately have more in common than we do that
Difference.
separate.
Yep.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
all we're all wanting to go to that same goal.
yeah,
Yeah. And that's something you can carry throughout the year. So we are talking specifically about Christmas and Yule and all of the things that are coming
right.
because it's right now. It's here. So just remember you can carry these practices throughout the year as well.
Well, and that's exactly right because the fact is we aren't only having these conversations 1 month out of the year where you find out that somebody has a very different opinion about something than you do. And it's how do you cope with that? How do you how do you respond? Right? And there is a big, I used to talk to my former stepchildren about this a lot. There's a big difference about acting versus reacting and how you can deal with that. When you are
Yeah.
acting on something, you're taking a positive step, you are taking action, you are doing something to say, yes, I acknowledge and I'm taking part of this. When you react, you're setting yourself up for a negative experience because all you're doing is working in a reactive fashion to say, it's a quick response or a quip. And sometimes those reactions are the things that will hurt us the most because those are the things that will come back and bite you in the ass later, right? That come back and it's like, oh God, I said it. I did not want to say that out loud. I did not want to tell that person that. That was something I meant to keep to myself. But in the moment you reacted. People do
Yeah.
it all the time. I mean, atheism is a big one, especially if you grew up in a very religious environment. To be like, what do you mean you don't believe in God? That's a reaction versus a pause to be like, have you always been an atheist? Right? And ask more questions.
Right.
And did you grow up that way? I'm just curious. And what do you do? Do you look at the universe? How do you look at things? And get
What is your place in the world, I think
right.
is a really great question for everybody. Like, how do you see the world? How do you support? How do you want to grow the world? What do you want to leave behind as your legacy? Can help kind of take it out of that spirituality conversation because I think we've become so defensive of what that looks like for ourselves.
Yeah.
And that can open it in a different way where you can discover spirituality in another person
Yeah.
on a different, without having to label it, I guess.
Right. Because we don't
Yeah.
have to label it. I think that's where we get hung up is that we feel like, I
Mm.
mean, I do it too. This is something I work on in my own shadow work because we grew up in a Christian environment and you
Mhm.
and I have always been open. We've always seen spirits, I should say. We have studied a lot of different aspects of New Age practices and then the native traditions and Buddhism and things like that. And where was I going with this? I hate when I do that. I hate when I do that. But
The label. We were talking about the
the
label.
labels. Thank you. God, squirrels in my head. So but you put a label on it to just be
Mhm.
like, oh, so you're a witch. Oh, so you're Buddhist. Oh, so you're Christian, Lutheran, Catholic. So you're Jewish if Judaism. And Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily define, and it becomes a label, and it's a label like anything else. If you just like, we're spiritual eclectics. We have a lot of different things from a lot of different areas that have made us who we are. And one of the things I battle the most, oh, and this is where I was going with my shadow work, is still sometimes saying when I'm talking to spirit or great spirit, sometimes I say great spirit, sometimes I say spirit, other times I'll say God and be like, you're all the same, right? And I get caught up in my head of this guilt of, okay, is it God? Is it great spirit? Is it spirit? Is it source? Is it universe? It's like,
And they don't really care.
no, they
They
don't,
don't
they
care.
don't care what the label is. It's like it's a higher power. And the label that I'm putting on things is on me. And
Yeah,
that's
that's on our linear time that we have to label everything.
exactly, that's something in our human experience that we just sit here and feel like the need that we have to stick a label on it, right? Put a sticky note on there and call it what it is. It's like, well, guess what? I'm bigger than a sticky note. I'm way bigger than a sticky note.
Well, and I think labels is what really kind of detracts from the whole thing as well, because it's harder to find common ground when you grew up understanding the labels that other people defined for you. So
True.
when you start labeling, well, you're Catholic, well, you're Lutheran, it really is speaking to the person in your intimate relationship and saying, what are you orthodox about in your spirituality? What do you have to do? What is a non-starter? You're never going to stop. This is what I do, and this is orthodox to me. The
Yep.
rest of it is, ooh, however I want to play that out.
Right.
Like orthodox to me, when I might be doing a ritual, I might be casting a circle. Casting that circle, I do it in a very specific way. That is orthodox to me.
Mm-hmm.
That is how I do it. That is the only way I will do it. That's the only way I'm comfortable. However, what I say, what I do, the herbs I use, the crystals I use, or when I'm talking to God, I always start my prayer with a very specific way. Those things are orthodox to me.
Yes.
Everything else is up for, and like however I'm interpreting it at the time. It's, who I want to be.
Right. Right. There's specific steps that you work through that are part of your process. I mean,
Right.
even putting on your makeup. I'm sorry, I do it in a particular order, right? I know exactly which lotions, which things go on first. I know exactly when I'm going to blow dry my hair, when I
Right.
brush my teeth. There is an order and a process. And when something's out of step, I feel it. I feel it. I'm like, what did I miss? I missed something. Oh yeah. And I come back around and do that. But it's ritual. It is my habit. Like you said, it's orthodox. This is something that is, you can tell me all you want to all about this, but this is what works for me. And that
Right.
is what it boils down to, is asking that person, just like you said, what is it, what is so important to you? What is so ingrained? What is so stuck in that is not, that is a non-starter. Don't even bring it up, not up for negotiation. That's me.
Yeah, this is a hard line. We're not going to cross this hard line. But
Exactly.
everything else is let's negotiate. Let's talk about
Right.
in our shared practices.
Right. Because the fact is, at your dinner, and again, we'll use Christmas as an example. Why couldn't I serve the Yule log as dessert
Right.
after having a very nice traditional Christmas dinner that we pray, and we thank Jesus, and we talk to God, and we do all these things. Why not? Why not? Because then you're absolutely involving everyone's welcome at the table. And that's all year long. All year long. And this isn't just the people that, you and I talked about this, because we say partner, but it could be your I mean, partner could be your spouse, it could be your roommate, it could be your best friend, it could be really close family members that you are, cousins, it could be somebody that you're just really, really tight with, roommates. What did I say that already? But they're all, anybody who's intimate, that you have an intimate relationship with in your life, that is a trust, that you feel like you have to hide something from, and that breaks
Hmm.
your heart. If it breaks your heart to have to hide something from somebody, you need to reevaluate a couple
You
of
need
things.
to have the tough conversation and you need to find common ground.
Yes, absolutely. And one thing I'm just going to say on this is, if they get so upset and so hurt by this that they just can't deal, please understand that is a reflection of them and not you. Because you
Right.
opened yourself up, you shared, you trusted, and they need time to absorb. And they will either come back around if it is meant to happen, or it was a lesson in your life about sharing those conversations sooner and being more candid and upfront about where you are and what you want in future relationships. But it is not a reflection of you as a person. It is a reflection of them and where they are on their path.
So hey, I have some anecdotal stuff going on around this.
Okay.
So, of course, my kids know fully about who I am, what I believe, my spirituality. So, I think last year, my oldest and I were talking, and I was talking about some Saturn conjunction or something that was going on. And he looked me dead in the face and goes, "You're an astrology girl, Mom, really?" And like was okay with everything that was going on in my life and talking to spirit and doing readings and haunted houses and having spirits roaming through the house. But that was his hardline point, like, no. But so I explained, I look at the energies of the day, I look at the transits, and kind of it gave him a little introduction. Like, it is more than, oh, I can see you're a Virgo, or I can see,
Right.
but it's the little bites, and we're still doing little bites because he still thinks I'm an astrology girl and tells his little brother, stay away from those astrology girls. Like, they think.
Oh my gosh, he
So
kills me.
that was a hard line stop for him. And that's a very intimate relationship to me. And I want him to be like, so cool. Well, his
Right?
reaction was, so not cool. Please don't say that out loud.
Oh boy. Well, now I just want to do his, because I know you've already done it, but now I just want to go over his birth chart with him.
I, yeah, I talked to him a little bit. He goes, well, some of it's a little in line. And I'm like, okay,
Oh,
honey, like,
whatever. It's all in line. We know that, child.
have you seen pictures from a real long history? Like, they would map the stars at a birth because it's the energy of that time. Anyway.
Right?
I
We
don't
can
want to
get
I
on
don't want to
it.
get on the side topic of astrology. We could go all day on that too,
Oh, yeah.
but that's one thing where we don't have a lot of common ground, but he gives that to me.
Right.
Like,
Right.
that's
Just like you give to him the permission to be a skeptic.
right. It's his
Yeah.
role, and I'm totally fine with that.
Exactly. And that's just it. It's love. It's like, okay, well, if you want to see more, let me know. You know where I am. Um, but I'm not going to shove it down your throat either, right? Because I'm respecting your boundaries. I'm respecting that that's not your jam. And that's not who you are. And that's okay.
Right, absolutely. And I think that the big point in that is staying authentic,
Yes.
owning who you are and not budging on that, but giving grace to how where everybody else is too.
Right. Oh my God. And there's so much of that right now and we're not talking politics, boys and girls, but for
But
a
we have to bring
reference,
it. It's a thing right now.
it's for a
It's a thing.
reference point though, there, this line in the sand bullshit, this, your way is wrong. The fact is, everybody is entitled to their opinion. Everybody is entitled to that same grace. And we may disagree profusely with many of the things that are happening or will happen, or stated to happen. But that doesn't mean, A, that we know the outcome. We don't know what will come from those yet. And it doesn't mean that I do not love my friends any less, that
Well,
chose a different path than me.
and we probably have a little imbalance between even Stephanie and I on this, and this because there's things where I have a moral high line for my friends, and there were some losses because it kind of tells you who they are, but you also give them grace. It's not that I'm mad at them, it's not that I hate them, it's just that we probably aren't living the same
Path.
life
Yeah.
and aren't headed in the same direction, and that's totally fine. So you give it grace and you let it go.
Yeah. You do have to
Yeah.
bless and release sometimes. And that is the
Yeah.
same with the spirituality. That's what I was talking about earlier, where if those folks don't respect your where you are, who you are, where you want to go, how you want to see yourself evolve and move forward, right? As you're manifesting your own life, then you have to honor that and let them go. We don't
Yeah, and
change.
I think you mentioned a lot, like it's not about right and wrong.
It's
It's
not.
about your path and their path. And
Yeah, it is. And, for me, with my friends, I honor it. And some are very, very close friends. Others are not so much. And I don't see as much as often anymore. We live in different places, but there's just certain things we don't talk about. And
right,
and that's okay. That's
certain
okay.
things should not be mentioned because
Right.
it's
Right.
not good for anybody's soul.
Right. Because there's just some things that don't resonate. I but they're also not my intimate partners. If this was my
Right.
man and we were having monumental discussions like this, then it's an evaluation piece for each of us to say we are in a very different journey. And is this
Yeah. How do we want to move forward?
exactly? And it's respecting choices that other people make. And if that choice is to bow out, it's a choice, right? Everyone has to make a choice. To not make a choice is to make a choice.
Right.
And if you are staying in something, but not being your authentic self, but not being true to yourself, what's that say about you? What does that
It's
say?
not good for your it's not good for your soul to not be who you are. I
No.
think this just brings up the really good topic about setting boundaries. Like
Yes. Oh my
this
God.
is yeah, so like with the astrology thing, my my son is not going to participate in it with me. Like
Nope.
sometimes he goes on investigations with us, like on a rare occasion, the
Yeah.
oldest goes. So sometimes he participates in that. He will never probably participate in astrology. Maybe. I mean, I don't know how his path
Young,
is going to grow. He's
you
still
know,
very young,
very young man. Yeah.
but you know, he respects that I do it. He just doesn't want me to say it out loud to his friends, and I respect that boundary too.
Right. I'm so buying him. See, I'm the aunt Steph though. I get to get away with that shit because he knows it. He knows that would be exactly what I would do is I'll buy an astrology chart with his name on it or something and make him hang it in his apartment. In front of
Oh,
his
right, with
room.
all of the athletes that he lives with.
Uh-huh. With all of the athletes he shares an
That's going to go
apartment
over
with.
really good.
I'll go in there and be like, oh, come on, you guys, just grow.
Right?
Yeah, but it's respecting those boundaries. It really is. Yeah, it's really honoring that. And it is about setting, like you said, with him, it is those boundaries. And knowing it, it's like, okay, I respect you. I love your opinion. I love who you are. Please respect mine. Then I don't want to talk about this with you ever again.
Yeah, I'm sure that we'll reapproach the topic as he continues on his journey and as, we'll
Well,
just
and
see how that all
I mean,
comes
look how
together.
much he's evolved since he's gone to college,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I mean, some of the conversations we've already had, I'm like, well, didn't you shift? Isn't this fun, right? So I hold out optimism in that. But the fact is, if there's a lot of people that are like, oh, astrology, you're one of those wonky people, you're a star person. Okay, yeah. Yeah, we are. But you want to see some fun facts? Let me show you some stuff because this is great. And
Yeah, let me just highlight some things for you and you walk on your way. But that's
right.
that's when we're reframing that conflict for growth, which was another topic we wanted to bring up
Yes.
because
How do you grow from it? How do you learn?
right, because they give us a different perspective. Again, nobody's right or wrong. Steph and I are not standing here saying that we're on the white high horse and telling everybody how to do it. That is not the case, and that's not who we are. So the more we say, the more we learn, and the more we talk about
Oh my
this with
God.
intimate partners in our lives, intimate family members, friends, whatever that is in our lives, the more we learn about their perspective,
Absolutely.
which even opens us more to compassion
And
for our business and our,
yes,
it's all
everything.
growth.
Absolutely. And like I was saying, the last few years, just seeing what has opened since we've opened the business side of it, right? And just because it opened us up to a whole different group of people. I mean, wide open, and that we took it into our corporate lives, right? So that we took it to our corporate jobs. So our bosses know, my teams know. They reach out to me on the side. I mean, I had one of my people on my team reach out and said, "Hey, only you would appreciate this. I had a numerology reading done." He goes, "I've never even heard of numerology until somebody said you should do this, and I did this." And he goes, "What a trip." And he said, "That was amazing." He goes, "And I knew only you would appreciate it."
Yeah, I had when I was in the team meeting last week for it's a monthly team meeting. One of them slacked me because they happen to know. Not everybody knows, but some people, most people do. And she's like, "You are going to be the only person who appreciates, so I'm not going to say it on the team meeting." She goes, "But my Christmas tree this year is going to be ornamented with tarot cards from different tarot decks." And I was like, "I love that."
Right? You're like, what a cool
So
idea.
I get to share in experiences that not everybody gets to share in because I've been authentic about
Right,
it all of the time.
right, right. And we opened ourselves up for that, right? And
Yeah.
we opened ourselves up for the criticism too.
Oh, for
Which
sure.
will come with it. I mean, let's be honest. And that is that's every spiritual. Look at all the anti-hate messages we have trying to go against the bullying that's happening in our social media platforms right now, against races, right? About Asians and Black and Hispanic populations, against Jew, Jewish populations, against Muslim populations. There is so much misunderstanding and hatred. Every single human being has the propensity for violence. Every single human being has the propensity for kindness. And how you choose to respond is a reflection of who you are. And if you are owning those moments to say, "I'm going to live in kindness all the time. I am going to be like, that's fascinating. Tell me more. I respect what you were doing. This is very cool. It's different path than mine, but very nice." And you're setting those boundaries. You're still doing that because you are a different person in a different way, but you are also not being reactive, like, "Oh, well, your way's wrong. There's only one of this. There's only one way to do this. There's only, have you been there? Can you prove that?" Because unless somebody can come to me and tell me that they have absolutely seen it, can prove it, have documentation to validate it, I just can't get on board with that.
Okay. But coming from somebody that talks to spirits, hmm, that's all I
Right?
got to say.
I know, but at the same, well,
No, I trapped you into that.
I
The
know,
love,
but and
love
I
is
walked
really
into
the
it.
answer.
I walked into it, but the thing is, it's like, but again, it's an open belief. It's
Yeah, no, I agree.
right because yeah, we do readings for people, and yeah, we're hearing from spirit, we're hearing from their, but 99% of the time, we're getting some form of validation,
Well,
right?
true, but
Whether it's a
if
color,
I was going to have that same conversation with somebody else and they're like, "I need you to prove it, show it."
oh,
Mm,
true, valid, valid,
right? So
valid.
at
But I
some
guess
point,
for
we just
me,
have to see the spirit in others living the human existence and trust that their spirit has the best intention for their path and
yes,
be grateful for their path.
that is very true. Yeah, for me, it's just about when we die. That's what I was really getting at is when we die, where do you go? And we all have different beliefs and things that we think happen. Um, whether it is reincarnation, whether we're living in parallel planes, whether we are go to heaven, go to hell, whatever that may be. And I have except for like going through a past life regression type thing. And again, that is my belief. That is what I chose to take from something and what I believe about it. But I
Mhm.
can't absolutely prove beyond a shadow of a doubt what my beliefs are to anybody else.
Right.
And that's what it boils down to is just looking at people and being like, "I like that theory. That's a cool theory. And I'm going to go with that one." Or "I like that, but I'm going to do it with this on the side," right? Or I don't know. I don't know. That's very deep, but
Yeah, we're
we're
well,
going.
And ultimately, in relationships, we just need to give the people we truly love space to go through that growth and to ebb and flow and be like, oh, I like this. No, that's totally wrong. And I like this. And no, but still be the humans they want to be in this time.
Right.
Yeah. And support them in that. And hopefully being able to find easy common ground.
Yeah. And support them in that journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And love really is all you need. Like,
it is.
if we could unconditionally love every person, like the world would be a different place.
Oh, can you imagine if everyone loved you the way that your dog loves you? What would
Right.
what would the world be like? And this is hoping that you're a good dog owner and your dog likes you, or your cat, or who, if you have pets. I guess I'm generalizing, but yeah, because I walk in the house and that is there is never a time I don't walk in feeling like I am completely adored and worshipped by the tail wagging, loving, she's back. I might have walked to the mailbox and
Yeah.
she,
Well, okay. And Stephanie is not asking to be adored and worshipped by anybody, but it is those unconditional eyes that look at you when you come back and they're like, oh, she came back for me.
yay. Yeah, it's like, but it's, I adore, and worship's the wrong word, but it's adoration. Worship's definitely the wrong word. They worship the fact that I feed them and open the door to let them out as much as they want. Let me just be candid
Right.
there. And that they sleep on my pillow and eat my sheets and do, yeah. So let's be clear about where I live in my dog's life. Um, but it's the pure adoration, pure love, pure joy, right?
Without expectation. It's love without expectation. And if we can do that for like the strangers we meet and just see the spirit in their human existence and that we are really all interconnected and hating someone is hating yourself.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, that's another, we could
it
go
is.
on
That's a
for
whole
hours.
shadow work thing right there, folks. If you've got a hate thing going on for anybody, write it down and examine what that means about you, because there's something about yourself you don't like.
Yeah.
But we'll leave that
Yeah,
one.
that they represent to you. So like if you hate them because you don't like the way they smile at you, you need to look at your own smile
Exactly.
and
Or
how
that
you
they don't
represent
smile,
yourself.
or that they're late all the time, or whatever it is. There's
Mm.
99% of the time that's something in yourself that you don't realize that is irritating you. But not always, but most of the time. So
So we never even got to the part of like if you have your family over, put it all out there. Like be you, be authentic.
oh God, right? So what do you do? Because okay, so all my family comes here and they all know, right? Our families are
Yeah, yeah.
very, very aware of where we are. So they'll come in and they're going to see all my books, and I have a plethora of books between Buddhism. I've got lots of different spells and ritual books and astrology, of course, up the wazoo, and crystals that line my shelves and herbs and yeah. I'm not hiding that. Good grief. I would have an empty office and I can't even fathom. And I would have, oh my gosh, I'd have to clean out every room in my house. So what do you
Well,
do?
but
For
to
those,
look at it from the other side of people who don't like when my kids' friends come over, I literally have all my stuff in one room that we can close the door because the judgment would run rampant.
oh
It
yeah,
would it would first be the kids seeing that, all of the crystals and all of the stuffs and everything that's out and being like, "Oh gosh, what is your mom into?" And
right?
then they go and talk to their parents and then that goes to the school. I mean, and then it just explodes and it's completely out of my control about what's happened.
Right.
So that's a little different than intimate. Okay, so we're talking about intimate family members or
Intimate
friends
relationship.
coming into your space.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Not your, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I leave all my stuff out in my room, but my kids have people over all the time, so I do keep it contained
You
kind
have
of
some
to a
social
room.
butterflies. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And that's a little different. Although, I, but because there is judgment involved at a different level there, and they're still at that age of education where, again, not everyone is as understanding. So thinking about your intimate relationships, Let's talk about it from that perspective. The family's coming over for the holidays.
Mhm.
They're not having their friends over that maybe you don't know very well and they haven't grown up with, right? Because the kids that they have grown up with very much know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, those are the ones, I mean, gosh, they've shared in some of our
I've
paranormal.
indoctrinated them.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, people. I'm just kidding.
But they've been a part of some of like looking at, oh, this is new paranormal equipment. I mean, my gosh, I remember the boys going and taking some of your equipment down in the basement one time and messing around and coming back upstairs and like, I think and you're like, yeah, let's go clear that out.
My
So,
awakening happened with my youngest son and one of his friends. And yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, some of them are okay with it, the ones that have been long term. But
right.
in speaking intimately, and I think this goes to boundaries, is I'm respecting my kids' boundaries on
Yes.
the relationships that they want to have and represent. So I
Yeah.
respect that by keeping it in here. However, anybody that comes that's intimate with me, and that's relationship, not necessarily sex, folks, that's intimate with me knows all about this. And I don't hide any aspect of it.
Right. And I don't either. So, like one of my closest friends, she dog sits when we're traveling. I'm not hiding anything. It's who I am. And she's like, okay, not her jam, but not a peep, right? And it's not like she just quit being my friend. Um, but again, that's an intimate relationship. That's
Yeah.
trust.
So this week when I was on travels, we had to do fun facts during like the whole
Yeah.
introducing. And I literally popped in my mind. I was like, tell me you're a psychic medium. I'm like, no, you don't. Not something.
I did one of mine and I said, oh, no, it was for when I was running for Hop Queen here in town during the Oktoberfest events, which, anyway. Um, and
So
they
I do have a level that I stop at though.
right, but I said I did paranormal investigations.
Perfect.
And they were because I'm like, well, you know what? There's enough of those on TV and there's enough people to buy into that. There's a certain level of public shock that's a little fun. That isn't going to get you like banished from the community, right? I don't need to be
Right.
part of the Salem witch trials by any stretch of the imagination, but
Right.
I was still authentic. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah. And
But
that's the important part,
it's,
authentic.
in a corporate job, regardless of how, and most of the organizations, at least our organization, is very, very wide open and diverse, which is amazing.
Yes.
But at the same time, I mean, I'm in a leadership position. Natalie is very well established in her role. We don't need to scare the locals all the time, right? And
Right.
so,
And I just scrolled us out because we were talking about intimate relationships again. And I was like, but
point
wait,
is it's
watch
not,
this.
but that's not an intimate relationship. My team
Right.
knows, my boss
Right.
knows, my closest colleagues at work know, because those
Right.
are relationships that I have honest and they know and they want and they ask, how'd the Hotel Congress investigation go? How did this go? They ask. It
Right.
because they're kind and they are they're being respectful. It doesn't mean they want to be a part of it. It doesn't mean they want to see the
No.
video, but they're acknowledging, right? And that's all packed to it's an intimate relationship. It's a shared spiritual thing. They're doing that and they're asking out of niceness and out of kindness and out of celebrating what is important to me. I also know one of my close colleagues has family in Israel, and two of my colleagues do. And so I'm constantly asking about that and how is your family and all that. And that is a whole different thing. I don't
Yeah. It's
understand a
respecting
lot of that, but
people's experiences. Yeah.
exactly. But it's honoring who they are and respecting and loving them for what they love.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Like you said, I loved it. All you need is love. It's a hokey thing, but it's so true. If we would
It
just
is.
love your neighbor, that is like, no, that's, I can't remember which number that is in that 1 through 10, but, being kind, not coveting your neighbor, not doing bad things, just being nice.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
Take the path of kindness every time and you'll win.
absolutely. Yes. Um, we'll wrap it with this. What's one, because we had one more, this kind of final question, right? So we were talking about reframing conflict before we
Hmm.
scrolled. what's one thing your spiritual partner, so thinking about this from your children, from people we work with, from people that are close to us in our life, what have they taught you about your own journey?
They teach me things every day. Um, like I hate to fall back to the astrology thing, but and this could be really anything that we're learning. So it doesn't necessarily have to be astrology, but when I start working with different divinations or I have different thoughts or I start going down rabbit holes and researching all of this different stuff and I talk with them about it because I'm so excited about it. And they remind me this isn't for everybody and there's some bound like they keep reminding me about how spirituality works and it
Yeah,
keeps me safe.
yeah, yeah.
So, what about you?
I like that. I would say similar because I open new doors. With my partner, I mean, he's very much on board and, he's got his own little spell that I gave him that he does every morning. It's a ritual. But he's very on board. But I learn too, he's like, you know, eh, because in this case, it's a little glass jar and it's got some herbs in it and some crystals and it's something that we shake in the morning and we each have our own thing. And he's like, well, he goes, sometimes he goes, if I forget to do that, he goes, it's manifestation, right? He said, I will just imagine that I'm doing that while I'm driving my truck.
Aw,
And I'm
perfect.
going, you know, yeah, yeah. He's like, it's manifesting, right? And I go, you got it, boy. You know what? Sometimes you don't have to do the physical part of it. And he recognizes that. And I mean, that's just the latest example of something I've kind of learned from him. Um, he has been sober for 21 years this year. And AA has some beautiful teachings. Really,
Hmm.
really,
Hmm.
they're very, very spiritual. Yes, they say God, but it's very, very taught around the universe, right? And just whatever your belief system is,
Your source, yeah.
your source. And a lot of what they share is very much what's taught in a lot of different spiritual realms. And so it's always fascinating when we're talking about something to hear that perspective and go, I like it. I like that. And I think I can incorporate that. I mean, he was the one, Nat, think about it, when we were talking about the physical location and we're like, holy cow, and the spirit guides told you here. And we're going, why here? This isn't where we thought of, and da 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 da. And he looked gently at us both and said, maybe it's not about you. Maybe it's about what the community needs. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little slap in the face that didn't hurt. It was a feather
Right.
in the face.
Right. It was a feather in the face of it's not about you. It's about what the community needs. And that's why the guides are telling you that you're supposed to be here. Okay, we'll go with that. But it was,
Well,
yeah,
and the whole kind of thing is all about the growth and boundaries that we've been talking about because like I would have never thought because I'm orthodox about my ritual. So, but I don't have to be orthodox because he's just told me a different way I could look at it and I can buy it. So that backs me off of having to shake it every
right,
morning, having to touch it because that's what I said I was going to do. Well, now if I can just say, okay, yeah. So
right.
growth, growth.
Growth, growth. It's learning and it's always and people see things so differently. We can
Hmm.
all read the same book and get a totally different meaning from it. And so that's why things like book clubs are so fascinating because people take completely different context from something. And so you learn a lot that way to go, oh, I never would have thought of that, or that's fascinating, or where the hell did you get that? And so those are the kind of things but it's great because the mind is a mysterious thing and we use so very little of it. And so it's fascinating to just kind of get those different perspectives. And when he said that to us, it was just like, oh, bitch slap. Ow. It ain't about you guys. It's not what you want. It's where are you needed? And that's what immersive spirit's for, right? We did this to be of service and of help to others. And where are you needed?
Right?
And sometimes we have to remind ourselves in our own spirituality, where you are needed is in a place of love and a place of kindness and a place of respect. And if you are doing that, um, hopefully the people in your life are returning the favor. Yeah.
That's a good
And
place to end it. So go
yeah.
ahead and take us out.
All right. All right. Well, it's been an amazing conversation. So thank you everybody for joining. I know if you listen to Nat and I at all, you understand we squirrel all the damn time. So whatever. Get on board. It's who we are, but we are authentic and it's what we do. It's just a reminder, right, to as you're going through the holiday season and even into 2025 and beyond, really, really just live in that place of kindness and respect other people's opinions as you want them to respect yours and on any level, right? But in your spirituality, be honest with yourself and be honest to those you care most deeply about so that they can be a part of your journey and you can be a part of theirs because that is so important right now is that we're just all sharing that journey and sharing that love. Um, and I'll stop there on that piece of it. Just as a reminder, we do have some workshops coming up. So please make sure and check out our events page at immersivespirit.com. We did mention that we have our spirit guides pushing for us to open a spiritual location. So we're looking at a center at a store, and there'd be some community involvement, like lots of different things. But we have a GoFundMe set up, so I will include that link in our podcast notes. We have an astrology course coming up. Since we mentioned astrology, we do have basically it's using astrology and intuition together, right? How can you use astrology in your intuitive growth and development? Whether it's for yourself personally or whether you're doing readings and so on for others, how can astrology help embolden that for you? And so that's really fun and that's coming soon. And then our actual calendar. So we have the Immersive Spirit annual living in lunar intention setting type thing coming out. I don't know if we have an official title for it. I'm sure we do, and I'm just not remembering it.
It's a
But we're good.
journal.
Right. It's a
A
journal.
great journal that we've used for 2 years. So it's
Yeah. It's
fantastic.
one that we created based on so many different journals over the last 10, 15 years.
Hmm.
And it incorporates your gratitudes. It incorporates kind of some just daily routines, right? Did I meditate? Did I spend some time, some drinking some water? Some of those little check boxes? A place for your divination of the day, whether it's a tarot reading or whether it's sitting in meditation, a manifestation section. And then we have some really cool inserts in there around what all the astrological. So all the moon guides for the 2025, as well as few like the retrogrades. And then we are including little bits about the Sabbats. So if it's something that you're interested in reading about, that will be included for you so you can see different ways to celebrate and be
Wheel
involved in
of the year.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah, in those Wheel of the Year celebrations. And December will be out very shortly. That will just be available for digital download on our website. And then our goal will be to have a bound, spiraled, or something. We don't know. We're still looking at all the printing options because, hello, it costs a lot to put out there, but then to have those there for quarterly so that we can
Mhm.
have those out and then they'll include all that information. So we look forward to sharing it with everybody.
All right. So love compassionately, unconditionally, and find common ground. So
Yes, ma'am. Perfect. All right. From Stephanie and Natalie with from high heels to happy feels with immersive spirit. We'll talk to you again next week. Have a great rest of your weekend.
bye.
Bye.